The afternoon session has been with Professor Ross Watts, who is professor at MIT, and he has been talking about understanding practice and institution, which is a prerequisite for successful accounting standard setting. So I'm going to just ask Professor Watts a couple of questions about the session. And some of the things that you've said, I've took some notes because I think you've been slightly controversial in some of the things you said. So one thing you said was that you cannot standardize accounting because institutions are different across countries. Can you explain a bit what do you mean by that and what you think are the consequences going into the future? Because we've seen a lot of effort into creating one set of international accounting standards to achieve comparable accounting across countries. How do you see that process happening, and is it going to be successful in the end?
Well, ultimately, the accounting of a country rests with the government if it's truly an independent country. They have the rights to set those accounting standards, and what the standards are affects business, affects a lot of people. So the ultimate decision for the country is going to be made if it's a real controversial issue, it's going to end up with the government of that country. And so we see Japan, Korea, and Taiwan not happy with the set of standards that the IASB is setting. They've got the rights to make the rules for their country. They break off and make a subset of rules for them. It's where the property rights lie. It's the people who have the power to say, what are the rules going to be for this country? This country. Okay, so we put a lot of countries together with different politicians. A government can change. A different party gets in. If there's enough discontent with the IASF, that country will drop out. So unless you've really got a world government with the ability to enforce all of this, you cannot get a working IAS, F or B, or whatever you want.
So you don't think the United States is going to adopt international financial reporting standards?
Absolutely not. Now, they may make some concessions, but the FASB has been, and the previous bodies before it, the Committee on Accounting Procedure, the Accounting Standard, the APB, the Accounting Principles Board in the US, all disappeared and were replaced by another body because Congress weren't happy with them. So there's a long history of this. And in fact, the FASB was going to get overruled back in 2000 on abolishing pooling of interests. The FASB was pushing very hard. It turned out that to get rid of pooling, it turned out there were enough members of Congress to give the majority to go against the FASB. So the FASB was to a point where if they kept going down the road they were going to be out of existence because of Congress. So what was done was a group of investment bankers, some accounting academics, and some firms went to the FASB and said, look, here's a compromise. And the compromise was, we'll let you get rid of pooling if you value goodwill each quarter, have the firm do that. And that meant they had to go through convoluted valuations, scenarios, with results that weren't believable. In other words, they set it up so that the companies could avoid writing off any goodwill if they wanted to. And so that's why we got into the issue of looking at how that standard worked and found out it was useless when it was really required. So, they were saving face, the FASB.
So where do you think accounting and financial reporting is going to go within the next 5 to 10 years in an international level?
That all depends upon the governance. I was going to say, and I should have, that if you look at the European banks, there's still a very significant number who, and this is true in the States, that are really underwater. And the reason it doesn't show up is that they've got the subprimes, etc., showing up in their balance sheet without any write-down. The governments are being complicit in not recognising the problem, getting rid of it, and going ahead. So it's hard to believe we're going to solve the problem.
You've also mentioned that you think fair value accounting is not going to survive. Is that?
It can't. Otherwise, the CEO's got the ability to give whatever number he wants.
So you see the FASB and the IASB reintroducing conservatism as a measurement principle in the...
Well, they had it in there, but these guys wouldn't have... That's from way back. It's been a carryover. They're not about to stand up and say conservatism's a principle, but it'll get in a face-saving fashion without recognising it.
Okay, so thank you very much for coming to give this talk and for answering these questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.